Good evening, everyone. I see it's 5 o'clock, so I'd like to call this meeting of council to order, being session number 96. I'll first do the territorial acknowledgement. We respect and truly acknowledge that we are on Treaty 3 territory, the traditional land of the Anishinaabe and the Métis Nation. We give gratitude and honor to the ancestors, elders, and all Anishinaabe and Métis people for sharing their resources and knowledge. Moving to item 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Councillor Mackey.
11.1, and I'm assuming 14.1, although there's nothing on the agenda to indicate exactly what that is.
Okay, I guess we'll decide the time if you need to. Councillor Morrison.
We have a pecuniary interest here on the in-camera session. It is AR 26-1126. We'll be sending a file to the clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Okay, that moves us on to item number 4, which is delegations and deputations. 4.1 is the Fort Frances Volunteer Bureau, and I believe we have John and Monica Seuss here. If you'd like to come to the podium, and welcome. Thanks for being here tonight. Floor is yours.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I sent out information. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read it or not, so we'll just keep this really short. If we can't find funding, we're basically in a position where we have 3 options as it pertains to the municipality because of the heritage status of the building. So it says the starting point is to come to the municipality and see if there's what pathway we want to go down. But basically there's 3 options. We keep ownership of the building somehow through a memorandum of understanding or whatever. We get relief for our utilities and that, so we can continue working out of the building and providing service to the community. The second option would be to turn over the heritage site to the town, you know, for $1 or whatever, just gift it over, and we continue working out of there. Or 3, in the case that we can't find funding to keep going, we would gift it to the town, and then whatever you don't want us in there, you don't want us in there, it's up to you, kind of thing. But those are kind of the 3 options as far as I can figure out from the process that we have to start. So this isn't so much as a presentation as just an acknowledgement that there's a process that has to be undertaken now to see what we're going to do with, or what the municipality is going to do with the heritage site being the CN train station. So that's why I gave the information to show what we do, so you can have a better idea of if we're worthwhile being in there or not. I emailed you just before I came here. We got 2 letters of support, one from Christy Cousineau, the other from Physicians Group and the Fort Frances Health Team, which I made a copy and just leave with your leisure. And then I thought that the rest of the time, I think I have a lot of questions, so I brought Monica if they're program-related questions, and if they're building-related questions, or financial, we'll field those. But I realize it's something that you guys are going to have to take some time to think about, ramifications of the ownership or not of the building, or how you want it to proceed. But we're hoping we're going to be able to find funding. It looks like we're going to be able to go at least until the, what did we figure, the Hope Center opens, the Warming Center in November, because we got some money from the Moffat Foundation. So that should keep us going at least until the Hope Center can be open. But with us, we have a fiduciary duty to because it's a heritage site, we can't just shutter it and walk away. It has to be heated and maintained properly as per the regulations. So that's why it really puts us in a bind, because we're going to continue on paying utilities and whatever we have to, bare minimum, to keep the building in a proper condition.
Well, thanks very much. I'll open the floor then to councillors. Councillor Bernardo, question? Comment?
No questions. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you and all your wonderful volunteers for the things that you do at the Volunteer Bureau. I know that it's a service that is done through the heart, and I appreciate what you do. Thanks.
Councillor Morrison.
To the chair. Yeah, I also just want to commend you on, I was reading it last night, 25,000 meals is really incredible, and good for you guys for doing that. That's pretty amazing.
It's all these ladies here, yeah.
Well,
They do
good
that.
job.
We had 45 people there. And they're on all of it.
Councillor McTaggart.
Thank you, Chair. I want to also thank you and your volunteers for what you've done and accomplished, looking after the homeless in the area and also the other services that are offered there as well. I have seen your budget and it's very lean. I know that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what you're able to do with that. I'm just wondering if you have done any general appeal to the community for funds. I know that you mentioned 3 in your presentation that you've worked with, but have you done any general appeals community-wide or area-wide for funding assistance? You're a charitable organization.
Right. We usually do every fall because that's our busy time for getting donations. So we promote online. We're not doing that much for fundraising per se because fundraising brings in $1,000 or so, and our volunteers are already worked to the max. If we have extra volunteer time, we want to extend our hours so that we're open all the 16 hours that the warming center isn't open in the winter. So it's danger of basically volunteer burnout if we get them into fundraising as well. So yeah, we have applied. The problem is we can get money for programs, we can get money for capital expenditures, not a problem. Problem is that there's like I said in my letter, there's almost nothing that does utilities. And that's no matter what we do, we can't get away from that. And when we go to the community and we say, hey, do you want to donate money? We got a whopper of a hydro bill. Nobody's lining up to do that. They want their money to be given to as food, clothing, that sort of thing, right?
I've been, if
Follow up.
I may?
Yes.
Sure. I've been involved in some fundraising campaigns, and I think if you build a bit of a case, it would not take a lot.
Yeah.
That if you had an appeal, that money then could be accepted, and you could do what you choose with it for utilities or whatever.
True.
Not bound by the gifts of a foundation or anything.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if that might work for you.
Well, it does in the short term, but we're really going to have to find a long-term solution to this because costs aren't going to go down. And our donators, to be quite blunt, are getting older. And with the inflation and the problems that they're having, that's why we're seeing a downturn. And we're not the only charity. Lots of charities are. And the problem, well, the saddest thing about all this is that Monica and her group have started to really get connections with DSAB and family health team and nurse practitioners coming in on a weekly basis, and that's decreasing the pull on the emergency room and vaccinations. Like every fall, we're having flu shots and COVID shots, and that's helping decrease the amount on the healthcare drain. But like I say, it's everything is fine as far as getting money for everything else except utilities. So that building is both a blessing and a curse. We can't operate without a building that site. I mean, we're running all these programs out of there, and when you have 45 people, we're at our max. Like we can only allow about 25 people in at a time, so people are in and out all day long. So we keep under that number, but yeah, it's growing as time's passing on here. But by the same token, they shower more, bar clothes to wash, all those expenses, that's hydro, that's water, all adds up, right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. She said we did, in my letter, I mentioned that we applied to First Nations as well to help us out because there's about 70% of Indigenous people in the center anyway. Haven't heard from them. So we're hoping that all these pleas for money, plus the foundations I applied to, will get some money and we can delay this. But process, I think as a municipality, you have to go through it, because sooner or later, we're going to hit that wall, and then what do we do with the building? And being a heritage site, it really handcuffs us in a lot of ways, what we can do with it.
Councillor Morrison again then, please.
After your worship. I noticed you had about 250 people altogether, and about 70% are from the First Nations. You know, do you guys keep stats? Like, do you know how many are from, like, have roots here in Fort Francis and then surrounding areas? I'm kind of curious about some of the stats.
Anyone else? I will also echo everyone else in saying I really applaud your passion and dedication you've shown to this cause and helping our vulnerable population and the homeless, and I really respect that, and I appreciate that as well, and thank you for that. And if we can find a way to work this out, that'd be great. We can't make a decision tonight, as you are probably aware,
Fully aware.
but I'd like to propose an oral motion that council direct administration to bring back a report on options for supporting the Volunteer Bureau. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Bernetta and Councillor Firth. Any discussion on that? I realize you're on a bit of a tight time frame. I think you said August 15th in your correspondence.
We did, but when we factor in some money that we've been able to drum up, what do you think? We'd be able to go till mid-November?
Mid-November.
Mid-November.
We have gotten a little bit of money since that picking housing here.
Well, as you know, our next meeting is August 10th, so we may have a report by then. We can weigh the options. So, first of all in favor? Carried? So we'll start from there, and hopefully we can find a solution together. But again, thank you for your presentation tonight, and thank you for your dedication to helping our most vulnerable.
Thank you.
And if anybody needs us to attend a meeting or email me. Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Okay, that brings us to item 6, which is correspondence. And 6.1 is correspondence in Northwestern Health Unit Annual Report 2025. Anyone want to comment on that or ask a question on that? Councilor Bernard, do you have anything? Okay. If not, we'll move on then to item 7, which is council reports on board and committee activity. Mayor Halkis once again has submitted a written report. What's there for everyone to see? I will pass on doing the report tonight, but Councilor Bernetta, you have a report?
Thank you. So as reported last month, June was very busy for me. On June 2nd and 3rd, I attended a strategic planning session for the Northwestern Health Unit in Kenora. The process was facilitated by MNP, and it was attended by the Board of Health members, the CEO, the Medical Officer of Health, and the 3 directors. We developed a new vision and mission statement, as well as new goals for the next 3 years. The goals focused on how we're going to continue to deliver mandated services while also being innovative and flexible in our operations. It was an excellent session, and I look forward to sharing more details with you in a little while. On June 8th to 10th, I attended the Association of Local Public Health Units annual general meeting and conference in Toronto. The conference was another excellent opportunity for boards of health and medical officers of health from across the province to network and share issues of mutual concern. Dawn Sauvé from our Dryden office was honored with a service award, and Jamie McPherson, chair of the Thunder Bay Health Unit, was also honored with an award of recognition. There were many presentations, but I came away with 2 memorable quotes. Steiny Brown, who is the Dean of the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, said, Public health puts years into life and life into years. And another memorable quote for me was from Dr. Lamptey, the Deputy Chief of Medical and Scientific Support and Population Health for Public Health Ontario. And he said, public health is about the vision of what is not yet here. I think both those quotes really aptly describe what public health is all about. On June 17th, I attended the NOMA board meeting in Thunder Bay. The board reviewed the report on the conference and AGM held in April. Feedback was positive, and overall, the conference was deemed to be a huge success. So congratulations to our executive coordinator, Jason Veltri, for the successful organization of his very first conference. Also, we spent some time reviewing policy revisions, and I also put together a draft policy manual which ensures that NOMA is in compliance with the various employment legislation. So these policies were drafted to ensure that if NOMA has more than one employee, they would be adequate to cover all staff. And the final draft will be presented at the September meeting. Finally, I was very honored to receive an award from NOMA for my years on the board. I have to thank the Rainy River District Municipal Association for appointing me to this regional board back in 2015, and it's been a very, very rewarding experience for me. On June 24th, I attended the virtual Board of Health meeting. You'll be getting the minutes of that meeting, but as noted earlier, you also received the annual report. It's a very thorough report and it's very interactive, so I encourage you all to take a moment to look through it. Our next meeting is in September, but I would like to touch on a couple of things. So the board is going to be conducting the CEO, Medical Officer of Health Performance Evaluations before December 31st. And we like to do that before the new council or the new board comes in, so that they're starting at a point where they can evaluate past performance, but then also move forward from there. The ministry is conducting an inquiry regarding blastomycosis in our region, and the Northwest Health Unit will be responding to that inquiry by July the 9th. We reviewed several administrative policies. We reviewed, we received a strategic planning progress report, and we passed a motion regarding temporary delegation of operation authority during the 2026 municipal election transition. As you know, all of the members of the Board of Health, except for the provincial appointee, are members of council. And when there's an election year, there is that period where there are no board members. So we actually passed a temporary delegation of authority. We discussed the opportunity to modernize the Board of Health complement, which looks at providing a standalone seat to Sioux Lookout as opposed to the current structure where Sioux Lookout shares a seat with Ignace and Pickle Lake. So a final report is coming to the board in September for a decision. We invested a cash surplus from the March 31st year end. We received the insurance renewal report, and we received program reports on vaccine preventable diseases, respiratory season, and dental health. So our next meeting will be in person in Kenora on September 23rd and 24th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bernetta. Councillor Morrison, do you have a report? Okay, we'll move on then to item 8, which is consent agenda. There are 5 items on the agenda tonight. Starting with 8.2, council meeting minutes approved as presented. The recommendation reads that council approve the following council meeting minutes as presented: the regular meeting minutes of June 22nd, 2026, and the public meeting minutes of June 19th, 2026. Item 8.3 is boards and committee meeting minutes. The recommendation reads that the following boards and committees meeting minutes be received as information: the Downtown BIA meeting minutes of April 8th, 2026 and May 13th, 2026, the Indigenous Relations Advisory Committee minutes of November 19th, 2025, Fort Frances Nonprofit Housing Corporation minutes of March 11th, 2026, and the Kiwanis Sunny Cove Sale Committee minutes of April 30th, 2026. Item 8.4 is a capital update. The recommendation reading that council received report AR-26-1121 titled Capital Update as information. Item 8.5 is MOU Town of Fort Frances and Fort Frances Library Technology Center. The recommendation reading that council approve report AR-26-1127 entitled MOU Town of Fort Francis and FF Library Technology Center as presented, and that council approve the MOU as presented. And finally, 8.6, private crossings bylaw. The recommendation reading that council receive report AR-26-1131 titled Private Crossings Bylaw for informational purposes only. Does anyone on council like to pull any of these items? Councilor McTaggart.
Thank you. 8.4 and 8.5.
Councilor Mackey.
8.6.
Anyone else? Okay, Councilor Mackey, go ahead with, or Councilor McTaggart, go ahead, please, with 8.4.
8.4, thank you, Chair. Through you to Mr. Rob. Thank you for the update. I think it's critical that we know where our capital projects are and how we're tracking. Just a question in regards to, I'm going to press my luck with you, Chair, but I do have 3 questions. So,
Well, I'll start with 2, but go from there.
in regards to the water plant, is that the backwash system that is makes us compliant with the MECP?
Through the chair, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Mr. Rob, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, that is handling the declination and TSS settlement MECP compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Follow up.
Well, my next question is the Scott Street Phase 1 and 2 and 3rd Street West, do we have an idea when these jobs will be completed, and are the projects on budget at this point?
Andrew Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. For Scott Street Phase 1 and Phase 2, Phase 1, they've started some of the concrete work, which is kind of a key piece prior to being able to prep for asphalt. So Phase 1 is a bit ahead. Scott Street Phase 2, they've got a lot of concrete work to still happen yet. They are, trending quite a few weeks ahead of schedule. I think the last I talked to them, they were about 3 weeks ahead of schedule, they figured, on Scott Street Phase 2. Phase 1, I think we're still probably reasonably month away from having it paved and open to vehicular traffic again. 3rd Street West is probably about a month and a half before it's going to be ready to be opened back up again as well. With Scott Street Phase 1 and 3rd Street, the reality of it is that the work that was completed last year needs to get surface asphalt as well. So there's quite a bit of asphalt to get put down. So even once we are at a stage of starting to place asphalt, that is a big undertaking, just given the length of both of those projects.
Does anyone else have any questions on 8.4 first? Councilor Mackey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Question probably should be to Mr. Rob then, for Scott Street Phase 1 and for the 3rd Street West project. The penalty for going past the completion date, is that being implemented? And if so, how much is that?
Go ahead, Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, it is, and it's $2,500 a day.
Follow up, Councilor Mackey. Councilor Morrison.
Through the chair to Manager Rob, I'm just curious, how many days would that have been, how many days for the penalty between last year and the spring?
Manager Rob, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. I don't have a total tally with weather delays and extra work and things. It's a bit of a it's a bit of a thing to calculate out, and I don't have right at my fingertips the last progress draw, which has the total on it from last year and this year. It should be noted that the intent of this penalty for being overtime is meant to cover our costs associated with the project being overtime, such as engineering support, on-site QA, QC personnel. So it's not necessarily a revenue to the corporation. It's just our direct expenses.
Councilor McTaggart?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. There were two noticeable absences in your report. I'm just wondering on an update on the elevators at MSC. And is the work fully complete on the water tower now?
Manager Rob?
Thank you. I will actually, for the elevators, defer that to Manager Miller. I know he's been working with Otis on it and may have a better update than I do. But in terms of the water tower work for this year is complete. There is one more warranty inspection that will happen before we do final sign off. That will happen next summer. But as of right now, everything for this year is complete on the water tower.
Thank you, Manager Rob. Manager Miller, would you like to chime in on the elevator situation?
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Okay, great. So we've been tracking the elevators closely with Otis on a regular basis. The supplier that builds the elevators for Otis has indicated that they will be shipping to Fort Frances this month in July. And then we're looking at an August install date for them. We don't have firm dates yet from the sub-supplier. So that's what we're just waiting on the update, the formal update from them on.
Thank you, Manager Miller.
Thank you.
Follow up. Councilor Morrison.
Through the chair to Manager Miller, how about the second elevator, the one in the 52 rink? Is there any plan with that one there? We just had I was at a wedding this weekend and it was really difficult. The groom's grandmother wasn't able to make it up to the funeral. It was heartbreaking, and hopefully we get these things done in a timely manner.
Anything else on item 8.4? Oh, no. Okay, sorry, go ahead,
Sorry.
Manager Miller. Are you freezer?
Yeah, sorry. For the second elevator, I'm just waiting from Otis's engineering retrofit group to put a proposal together for that elevator in the 52. It's a custom project, so we're waiting on their engineering for that.
Seeing no other comments in 8.4, Councilor McTaggart, you pulled 8.5 as well?
Yeah, thank you. I support the MOU with the library. I think it's necessary. But is my understanding correct that the service costs provided by the town are charged back on a determined formula basis? Snow plowing or accounting or any other services that we may provide? Sorry about that.
Okay, CEO Michaels?
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't know offhand. I'm looking at my treasurer. I don't know if Mr. Rob, in his experience in the past, might have a comment on that. Otherwise, we could get that to you, but I don't know the accounting practice.
Madam Treasurer, go ahead, Madam Treasurer.
Thank you, through the chair. Historically, but I can't recall if there's a change in here. Historically, we have not charged those things. Perhaps snow plowing? If it's job coded, then we would charge it, but for accounting costs, there has never been a charge to the library.
Okay, I just wanted to know if their budget's fully loaded or if some of our budget is helping their budget. They're two different entities.
As far as I think I know the library gets charged some items that the town does on their behalf, like whether it's snow plowing or maintenance, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So there is charge there. Oh, sorry. Manager Rob, sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Go ahead, Manager Rob.
No problem. Thank you, through the chair. We do charge the component amount of snow plowing for snow removal in that parking lot at the percentage outlined in the MOU. to the library, contracted works directly related to library services are charged back to the library. Anything in terms of staff time that's directly for the library that, to Don's point, is job coded goes to the library budget. So we do try our best on the operation side to account for our time appropriately. The only spot where that's not true is on the grounds maintenance, grass cutting, things like that. The site is the site. What component of the grass that we're cutting is the library versus the MSC? It would be just way too hard to try and account for that.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you very much.
If I'm not mistaken too, I mean, obviously the library pays their portion of the hydro bill as well and the water bill, et cetera, so they get charged that as well. Councillor Bernetta.
Thank you. I'm just looking at page 5 of 10 under letter H. I was very happy to see that our IT departments will be supporting each other. This is something that we've struggled with in the past, and I'm really happy to see that that's set up in the MOU. Thank you.
I just want to add my point and say that thank the library CEO Nadine Cosno for the work she did in drafting up this MOE. I think it's very comprehensive too, and a good step forward to revamp and modernize it so that it catches up to 2026 situations and all that. So I applaud her and the work that was done to get this MOE revamped and revised. So I'm certainly in favor of it as well. Anything else on 8.4 or 8.5, sorry? If not, I believe Councillor Mackey, you pulled item 8.6.
Thank you. In regards to this complaint from Ms. Olson on her private crossing, I see the bylaw has been provided to us here. If you scroll down to the start of the actual bylaw and look at item number 2, it's a definition of private crossing, which is then used throughout this document. The private crossing is interpreted to mean the installation of a culvert or the construction of a concrete or asphalt driveway for the purpose of access to the private property. Now, the issue with Olson's driveway is not the crossing. The curb and everything hasn't moved. The road is sunk. So I don't understand why this is being brought forward to us as an explanation when the road is sinking and causing the problem of accessing the driveway.
Thank you, Councillor Mackey. Madam Clerk, would you like to have any comment on that?
Through the chair, it was administration's intention only to bring forward the bylaw for council's information before it came, before the full report came forward in August. So no comment at this time further on that.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any follow-up, Councillor Mackey? Okay, we'll go back then, and I have a recommendation that council approve the consent agenda as follows. Agenda items 8.2 and 8.3. Can I have a mover and seconder for that, please? Councillor McTaggart, Councillor Bernetta. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Now I have a recommendation that reads that council receive report AR-26-1121 entitled Capital Update as Information. Can I have a mover and seconder on that, please? Councillor Morrison. Councillor Mackey. Any further discussion on item 8.4? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. time. I'll move on now to item 8.5. The recommendation reads that council approve report AR-26-1127 entitled MOU Town of Fort Francis and FF Library Technology Center as presented, and that council approve the MOU as presented. I need a mover and second on that. Councillor McTaggart. And Councillor Morrison. All in favor? Carried. Sign these later. And for item 8.6, I have a recommendation that council receive report AR-26-1131 titled Private Crossings Bylaw for Informational Purposes Only. Mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Bernetta. Councillor Morrison. All in favor? Carried. There you go. There you go. Okay, that brings it then to item 9, which is Administration and Finance Division reports. 9.1, new town taglines. The recommendation reads that council decide on option blank to be the new tagline for the town of Fort Francis. So I need a mover and seconder so we can put it on the floor. Councillor Firth. Councillor Mackey. Discussion, council. Councillor Bernetta.
Thank you. Personally, none of the 5 options really speak to me in terms of the future of our community. So I would prefer to let the new council choose this new tagline. And there's more reasons than that. I also believe that a new council working together toward the new, what's ahead of the community, it's important to have something like a tagline and a strategic plan and a vision and mission to really work on that together as a group. And I think that's something that would be really great for the new council to work together to build a cohesive focus for the future of the organization. I have been getting other people's suggestions still for taglines. I did forward one to, I can't remember who it was, Allie or Chelsea, but so I'm just wondering, are we beyond the point of taking in new suggestions? Is this kind of the last report, or do you see this continuing if we decide to refer it on to new council?
Maybe I'll ask Deputy Clerk Lewis to respond.
Thank you, through the chair. If council has appetite for new suggestions to be taken again, they can make a motion to do so. However, the intention with this report, the initial report in June 22nd and the subsequent report to council, was for them to decide on a new tagline based on the recommendations.
If I may, Deputy Clerk Lewis, I see that option B is defer this decision to the next term of council is not preferred, and you want to maybe expand on the reasons why that's not a preferred option by administration?
Thank you, through the chair. We have been phasing out the Boundless tagline for a couple of years now, so we felt it was appropriate for council to pick a new tagline. This project has changed hands. It was initially started with the previous deputy clerk, and it came on to my desk when I started with the town. However, if council does feel that they do not want to make that decision and they do want to defer it to council, they are more than welcome to. It just means that any future branding we were hoping to have anchored by the tagline, so that will also be paused for the time being.
Councillor Firth, I believe you're next.
Through the chair, I just want to echo Councillor Bernetta as well. We have important things that are in the works. We have a community improvement plan coming this October. We're going to get a new strategic plan. I do see the merit in what Councillor Bernetta is saying, that I think we can slow this down, and it'd be a fun exercise for the new council to kind of get their feet wet, working together to bring something forward.
Councillor Morrison.
To the chair, I agree totally with Councillor Bernetta's and Councillor Firth, and I would like to suggest maybe we can continue to ask for taglines. So even with the new council, I'd like to defer it to the new council I understand why you'd like to go forward, but I'd rather get it right and not get it right, and then it's something that we're going to regret for 5 years from now and have to worry about. So I'd rather defer it to the next council, but I think that if we could still continue to take names, maybe I have been hearing a lot of good names as well, and I keep telling people I've actually been writing them down as I haven't been sending them in. I've been telling them to send them in. But I think we should keep on, and then somebody might come up with a winning one that appeals to the next council.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree that none of the 5 really struck me. And as Deputy Clerk Lewis outlined in her report, and it was an excellent report that she went through and showed pros and cons of each one, and did a lot of excellent background provide a lot of excellent background information on this. And I just want to applaud her for all the work she's done and to help us try and get her decision made here. But I'm hearing here from the council here that the appetite seemed to be to defer it. And maybe we can not have to have her redo the work, but just build on the work she's already done, because it was excellent work. And again, I really appreciated how you took each tagline and did a SWOT analysis on the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. So I really do appreciate all the effort you put into that to come up with this tagline. And but if it's the will of council to defer to the next council, is that where we're at? Is there an option? It's option B then, eh? Sorry, Councilor Morrison.
We're having a motion. I'd also like to add that maybe we continue on accepting names and advertising that we're looking for taglines, just so we can add it to the list for the next council, because somebody might come up with something this August or September and add it to the list. That's what I think we should do.
We may end up in the same boat we were before we got all these submissions, and then there's having to whittle them down to the top 5 type of thing. And so, where do you draw the line of how many submissions you take? It's a tough conundrum, because I respect what everybody's saying, but CEO Michael.
Thank you, Your Worship. If there's consensus among council, I would direct us to do another public engagement to get a top 10 list and bring to the future council by X date. I would give us specific guidelines. If there's no consensus on what you want us to do, because the new council might want to actually spend money and pay somebody, an outside company, to do so. But if there is appetite, I would make it very descriptive. I would give a timeline to bring it back, and what you want us to bring it back, and what you want us to do, which is public consultation and engagement on feedback for a top 10 list by X date. That gives us kind of the clerks know to go out, do it again, make the list top 10, and then that's what the public is saying. Thank you.
Councilor McTaggart.
I was hoping that we might make a decision tonight, but there's a need for us to reinvent ourselves in this community. And what do we want the town to be? What do we want the town to look like in 10 or 15 or 25 years? What's the vision? And the tagline should be speaking to that. And if we're not happy with what's here, then let's keep looking for that right tagline. That's not the be all and end all. We've got lots of other business, but I think we should be working in that direction, because we need to be in a position. That tagline, I think, should be representative of what we want to be years down the road, not what we are today or what we were yesterday.
Well, again, I'm looking at the options here, and option A was to choose from the 5 that was submitted. Option B was to defer the decision to the next term of council. Option C was to hire an outside marketing company to bring it forward, new options. I don't think you want to do that, because, again, we're hamstringing into the future council. They may not want to do that either. So I'm looking at option D was choose not to have a tagline. But I think the consensus is that we do want a tagline. We're just not there yet with 5 we have. Is that sort of where I'm getting? Bearing in mind that this means more work and a process, and they have more other things to do as well, and that's the conundrum here.
I think we take the advice of the CAO. I think he summed it up, and
I'll go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. My recommendation then would be to direct administration to continue public engagement on a top 10 list tagline and defer the decision to the next term of council no later than Q1 2027.
Councilor Morrison?
So Chair, who decides the top 10 though? Because I mean, what somebody else sees a top 10 is maybe something that living here for 55 years I might see differently than other people. So I'd like to see almost all of them. Because you know what I mean?
Well, I said that's certainly, I see where you're coming from, Councilor Morrison, but again, we have 200 submissions we're going to go through, and who's going to pick? The council's going to try and pick amongst the 7 to find a tagline that's going to be very difficult, in my mind. CEO Mike.
Thank you, Your Worship. We can still provide the other ones that didn't make it, but administration's goal is to get the feedback of the community of which ones they think is the top 10. That, to me, I won't go away from that recommendation, that we need to know what the public thinks of the top 10. Then you can go outside. I mean, there's political consequences to that if you go totally outside, but I think you want it to direct us to get data to show what the community wants. Top 10, whatever you want to call it, you can add into, we'll make note that in the report that we could show all the answers, but we still want to frame it of what is the community saying are the best ones. And I strongly urge that we get that sort of data. And as I said, we in an appendix, we can have all the names in there. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Through the chair, in considering timelines, I would suggest Q2, just with the new council elections, new committees. Q2 would be better for our department.
Fair enough, Madam Clerk. So I think if we go back to the original recommendation, and it was, bear with me here, that council decide on option, I'm going to say B, be the, and then have a report for the new council in Q2. You can add that to a recommendation. Are we good with that? Is that where we're looking at? Do I have to get a new mover and seconder for that amended? Do I have to amend it? Add Q2? Okay. I thought option B would be pretty good, and then, but just add and have a report to the new council by Q2. So we'll do that first before. Okay, we're going to amend that council decide on option B, and that a report to the new council be delivered by Q2 2027. Is that, do I need a mover and second for that then? Councillor Bernetta? Councillor Firth? All in favor of that amendment, adding Q2? Okay. So then we go, no, I'm not sure. And then for the initial motion, that we decide on option B with Q2 amended. All in favor? Is that carried? Option B. Okay, so the original recommendation now reads that council decide on option B and a report be presented to the new council by Q2 2027. All in favor? LD not carried. Good? Good with that? Good discussion, though. Good discussion, because it's very important, as Councillor McTaggart said, that we're trying to find the right vision and going forward and tagline, and as Councillor Morrison also said, we want to make sure we get it right. So let's work on that then. Item 9.2, reconciliation policy. The recommendation reads that council approve the draft reconciliation policy and that the council acknowledge the reconciliation policy as a living policy where the Indigenous Relations Advisory Committee may recommend further revisions as deemed necessary for the purposes of reconciliation, and that the finalized reconciliation policy be brought forward to the next council meeting of council for consideration of formal adoption through bylaw. I need a mover and second on that, please. Councillor Bernetta. So if there's no seconder, can I can't second it. Yep. Chair can move for a second. Well, if it's no seconder, defeated, tabled, or just defeated, can't even speak about it until we have a seconder. Well, that's sort of where we're at then. Okay, thank you. Councillor Firth, seconded. Discussion. Councillor Morrison, sorry. Go, Councillor McTaggart, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I note in here, in item 2 in natural policy, that it refers to the Indigenous people of the southern region of Treaty 3. And again, in 9.3, the last bullet point, it also refers to people, the Indigenous people of the southern half of Treaty 3. And I'm afraid that puts us in maybe a little less than favorable light, that we're not welcoming of all Indigenous people. And particularly in light of the fact that there's recent investment in the area by Lac du Molac First Nations. And I think that I'm afraid the messaging in those sections is wrong.
Can you just, again, sorry, the numbers again, Councillor?
I was in point 2, like right at the very beginning of the policy. And then again in 9.3, the second last bullet point on page 13, I think it is. Yes, yeah. And I would like that to go back to committee maybe for further consideration.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Taggart. Councillor Morris.
I don't like when the girl this one is.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm on the Indigenous Relations Advisory Committee, and we had a meeting on June 23rd. At the time, I hadn't seen the survey results. looking back here, we met in November, we decided we were going to have committees and solicit feedback from including town council, senior leadership, the town of Fort Francis, public surveying, Sunset Country Métis, Agency 1 First Nation, and along with 10, again, we are here 10 First Nation communities at Southern Treaty 3 and local Indigenous organizations. I do understand one of the reasons we do the 10 of Treaty 3 South is that's who all the agencies up here work with, like Gijadas Win and Gish Kondago Akwe and whatnot. They usually work with the 10. That's one of the reasons it probably came up. But I'm just reading the public survey. I had some concerns because I hadn't had a chance before the last Indigenous Relations meeting. And I thought we were holding it off till August 19th because I hadn't had a chance to read it. One of the co-chairs hadn't either. But when I do look at the survey now, I see that 40 out of 100 didn't like the policy, which to me is a failing grade. And I had some concerns about that. And talking with local First Nation leaders and administrative leaders, I don't think we received their feedback yet on it. And I was supposed to meet with actually one of the administrators today of local communities. And unfortunately, we weren't able to meet. But they had some changes they wanted to make to the policy. I'd rather see us get it right if we're going to move it forward. And I want to have the feedback from everybody, even if it takes us a while longer. I think it's important to have the feedback from our First Nation community center, Métis, and all the local organizations, because I don't think we have that at this point. Thank you.
Councillor Bernardo.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Morrison. I guess I assumed that we had received feedback, and that's why it was coming to us. I realize the motion says that, it will be coming back to the next meeting of council. But the other thing I was wondering about is in section 10, the review says that the policy will be reviewed by the clerk and the Indigenous Advisory Committee, as well as it also says it will be updated. It doesn't talk about, council's role in the review. So once they're reviewed, when there's changes made, does it come back to council? And maybe that's a given, maybe it's an automatic, but it's not in the policy. So I just wanted to have that clarification as well.
Councillor Morrison.
To the chair, I'd like to move to table it to September meeting because the Indigenous Advisory Relations Committee is meeting again on August 19th, I believe it is, Chelsea? Yes. Yeah, August 19th. And then everybody will have a chance to look at it, and maybe we can hear back from the local agencies, local First Nations and their leaders, and get their feedback, as well as the Métis, because I believe they haven't sent in their correspondence as well, correct? Yeah, so it'd be nice to hear back from everybody. I'd rather do that than be in a hurry, and I'd rather put it forward correctly, just the way it needs to be, instead of having to make changes. I understand it's a live document, but I think we should have it right or as close as we can before we move it forward. So I'd like to table it to the September meeting.
We have now a motion to defer this decision until our September 14th? After Labor Day. So the motion to defer this decision until our September 14th council meeting. I have a mover and seconder on that one. Councillor Firth. Councillor McTaggart. All in favor? Okay, carried.
Your Worship, just for clarification, I believe the first motion then was defeated. Because, no? Go ahead.
Madam Clerk.
Through the chair, that does not defer, or that does not defeat the motion. It will come up as if the first time at that September 14th meeting.
But it was moved and seconded by myself and Councillor Firth, and a vote wasn't taken. So I'm not sure how.
Through the chair, the mover and seconder will remain. It will So as the vote has not taken place, the mover and seconder will still stay the same. That's September 14th meeting.
We're good. Okay. Move on to item 9.3, procedural bylaw update. Recommendation reads that council direct administration to bring forward a bylaw to the next meeting of council implementing scenario number 1. I need a mover and seconder on that, please. Councilor McTaggart. Councilor Bernetta. Discussion, council. Councilor McTaggart.
Thank you, Chair. I am going to say that I like scenario 2 better, but tweaked a little bit. I am suggesting that items 9 through, we move 10 and 11 down below division reports. And reversed at 10 and 11. I think the break should come before the committee of the whole. Does that make proper sense? So we reverse that, but I'm thinking, my thinking is simply that if there's division reports, we may want to refer something to committee of the whole, but also if a manager doesn't have anything to do for committee of the whole, they could be done for the evening. So reverse 10 and 11 and move it below 12.
Okay, thank you for that.
That's scenario 2, yes. Yep.
Any other comments? Councilor Bernetta.
Yeah, I would agree with the changes Councillor McTaggart suggested. Just for information purposes, we used to have our closed sessions near the middle of our meetings in my first term of council, and we purposely changed them to the end of the meeting, and that's because we would come out of closed session, sometimes a lengthy closed session, and we would have lost anyone in the gallery, except of course the press. They always stay, and as well as online. So I think it's important that we are sensitive to those people who take the time to come to our council meetings and ensure that we're not wasting their times when we're in camera and they're just sitting here. So I would appreciate keeping the closed session near the end. Thank you.
I would concur with Councilor Bernetta. I remember having closed session first downstairs, and I could have gone and then if you have a delegation or a presentation, that was very awkward. So I agree with that should be near the end. I'm having a little bit of trouble. I also favor scenario 2, but the reason I do is committee whole looking at issues at the next council meeting, or will be issues at the current council meeting? And shouldn't we have the committee of the whole before we have division reports when we might do more in-depth discussions? I'm just wondering what the role of committee of the whole is. Is it looking ahead, or is it dealing with issues on that particular night? Thank you.
Through the chair, it would be in looking ahead. So asking questions where the motions be voted on would come at that subsequent meeting to council.
Okay, so the division reports and the decisions there would not depend on what be discussed at committee of the whole.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Oh, sorry, Councilor Morrison.
To the chair, I was kind of wondering about that as well, because sometimes we don't know if something is going on the next time. So if important issues, will we always know about it then 2 weeks before the meeting, or in the summertime a month beforehand? Because that's what I was kind of wondering, or I'm having difficulty wrapping my head around this, how it's going to work. Some things sometimes come up.
Thank you, Your Worship. The concept in administration is hearing your preference for certain changes. We get it, but we wanted to separate the committee of the whole because it's really, in theory, a different meeting. Those topics will be just brand new for that, and we don't want those items to then come to regular to decide that night. So that's why we originally proposed the other way. We want to really separate everything. You do all your stuff here, you have a break, and then now we have a CAL meeting. different mindset. This meeting is just high level, no decisions other than referring it back to a future meeting. So that's the concept. But since we're doing it all in one day, we have some latitude, but that's the concept, that it might take a little bit to get used to build Cal items to then come to future. But after a few months, we'll have that separation. You'll have your items that, hey, we had that at Cal, you know, a couple of weeks ago. Oh, we have a new Cal item or 3 of them after these items. Like, so we'll build it up, but try to look at it as like 2 different meetings, but in one, which is a little bit odd. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just, in my mind, couldn't wrap my head around as cow, as Dale, Michael said, would be items we're discussing that night, or items that we'd be discussing at a future council meeting. If it's at a future council meeting, then I'm more in favor of scenario 1 then, where you drop committee of the whole to the bottom. Because I thought it was important that we got committee of the whole discussions before we got into the meat of the division reports. But if it's not going to be the same items, then I have no problem then dropping committee of the whole to the bottom of the thing, as in scenario 1. Councilor Morrison?
Councilor the Chair. It brings me back to what I was asking, though. How is it going to work in the summertime when we're a month away and things come up within 2 weeks? We don't have a chance to discuss that, which I thought was the whole meeting of the committee of the whole. Say right now, we won't have a meeting now until August, you know, second Monday in August, and something comes up in the next 2 weeks, and say if we had the committee of the whole at the end, then we're not going to have a chance to really implement this committee of the whole to discuss these items, which was kind of, I thought, the intent behind it.
Thank you, Your Worship. So again, it's kind of like feeding it. So right now we have no committee of the whole. So all the May and June meetings are feeding the July and August 2 meetings. Ideally, we'll be prepared as administration for feeding the July meetings. And if everything has to be decided in July, then we have to be cognizant to bring it in April or May, maybe a second time to review it in June. So then you make your final decision in July. So we'll have to be cognizant of that, knowing we have 2 meetings and we'll plan it. So I hope I'm explaining that we're in no better shape the way we are now. We just have to plan better to make sure that if you want an answer before August 1st, make sure that in April and May you have all your Cal meetings done. I hope that helps in clarifying. We don't see that as a big impact unless we're obviously very unorganized. Thank you.
Thank you. And then for myself too, then in scenario 1, Madam Clerk, you're suggesting having the closed portion above division report because sometimes some items are discussed in closed session that then have an impact on the division reports then? That's the reason why you have it in that order?
Through the chair, that's correct. Lately, we have had that scenario come up a couple of times where it would have been nice to have been able to go into close earlier in the meeting.
In my apology, but I won't speak for the clerk, but if there is an appetite for what Councillor McTaggart is saying, because I see the value of putting the recess before Cal for sure, and then putting the division reports, we think that's very similar to scenario 1. So we like that variation of scenario 2. We ideally don't love scenario 2 on its own without those amendments. At least that would be my preference in recommending. I think the right sequence a councillor needs to have in separating those meetings. Thank you.
Councillor Burnett.
I also originally preferred option 1, but I was a bit confused about the splitting notice of motions and moving up motion to reconsider. I didn't understand your 3rd bullet in that piece. So you say motion to reconsider will automatically be paused at now.
Through the chair, you do not require a notice to do a motion to reconsider. However, as the chair goes through the items, if there is nothing listed on there on the agenda, it's just getting passed. So instead of someone needing to put up their hands and make sure that they're heard at that, it'll automatically get called on. Like if we have correspondence, number 3 is correspondence. Or, this would be motion reconsider. Does anyone have anything that they want reconsidered?
Okay. that gives me more thought that I have to put into this.
Actually, after hearing the explanations of pros and cons to both and understanding now the better relationship of Cow versus the regular meeting, I'm actually now in favor of scenario one. So I don't know if we can poll council and see what they think. Councilor McTaggart suggested scenario two, but with a couple of amendments, moving things around. I'll maybe poll council then. Councilor Burnett, have you?
I'm really torn, and since I won't be on the next council, I'm actually willing to defer it to the other members.
Councilor Firth?
Through the chair, I'll do 2 with Councilor McTaggart's recommendations.
Councilor McTaggart? 2 with your recommendation. 2. Councilor Mackey? I'm going to stay with number 1, but obviously I've been outvoted, so I guess we'll be going with scenario 2 with the changes that Councilor McTaggart suggested, just moving a couple of things around. Is that okay? All right, thanks very much, Madam Clerk. Oh.
You know, it's scenario 2, like I'm thinking of some of the staff's time too. Like that, if they don't need to be here, let's release them and in that order, so.
But they may not be here for division reports.
They may have to be, but if they don't have to be, they're free to leave and just get some people home earlier.
CEO Michael.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not to belabor it, I think you've made good progress. The scenario 2 with those variations, I think will work well with a good flow. The only thing, if there's an appetite, because conceptually, I know Councilor Brunetta was asking regarding the notice of motion and notice of motion of reconsider. Motion of to reconsider, the reason we split it is notice of motion, there's no meat to it. It's a formality, right? We're putting the notice of motion. You're saying it, that could be later in the meeting. A motion to reconsider is real debate. So if there's appetite to split those and then bring motion to reconsiders before the recess, because that could be a half-hour conversation. You see what I mean? So I don't want to recess, motion to reconsider, and Cal together. I'd like to separate those because from time to time they're actually big items, and it would be a benefit, we believe, to administration and future councils. Thanks.
I think Councilor Mackey's first.
Thank you. I'm leaning to number 2 definitely, and the closed session at the end just makes sense to me. But let's keep in mind, we're not pulling out a stone and chisel and chiseling this into rock. We can change this. We can go along and 6 months into it, go, this isn't quite working, and adjust it at that point. But to be here for another 20 minutes talking about which way we're going to go kind of defeats the purpose.
So, Madam Clerk, for clarification then, do we have to defeat this recommendation and then do a new one, or just amend the?
Through the chair, I would suggest to amend the motion to scenario 2 with revisions.
I need to move or second for that after I do that. So we're going to implement scenario 2 with revisions. So I need a new mover and second for that. Okay, a new Councilor McTaggart, Councilor Mackey. Okay. Yep. So the now recommendation now reads that Council direct, Councilor McTaggart.
And the revision, as the CEO has pointed out, with the splitting of the notice of motion and motion to reconsider, moving the motion to reconsider up in the meeting. That would be, also, I think that would be a good move. That would be part of the revisions.
With revisions. Need consensus on that then, to help out the clerk here and help on myself. Just what order are we in now? We're in scenario 2. I got that. The first 9 are right. Is that correct? We're dropping 10 and 11.
To after 12.
So 12 becomes 10.
12 becomes 10. 11 becomes, 11 becomes, well, 11 would be 11, and then 10 goes to 12.
Okay. And then also item 13, you wanted that split, you said?
Well, as CAO, it makes a good point of splitting that out so that we have notice of motion later in the meeting, and we have the motion to reconsider up earlier in the meeting.
Will you say after consent agenda? Oh, Madam Clerk, please go. Help.
Right. If I may, Your Worship. So 1 through 9 would stay the same. Then we go to 12. Then we go to 13.2. So they're just a second part. Then back to 11 because there's a flip between cow and 10-minute recess. Then 10-minute recess, and then everything in order that's left. So 1 to 9, 12, 13.2, 11, 10, and whatever's left in order. Right. That's right. We flipped those. So that's why it would be 11 and then 10. See, 11 is a 10-minute process.
Are we good with that? We got consensus there for that one. You're good? Madam Clerk, you're good? Okay, so the recommendation reads that Council direct administration bring forward a bylaw to the next meeting of Council implementing scenario 2 with revisions. All in favor? Team that carried. Again, another excellent discussion. Keep me on my toes. Or trying to. I know you did. Okay, item 9.4. Personnel report January to June 2026. The recommendation read that Council received report AR-26-1109, being a personnel report for the period of January to June 2026 for information purposes. And I believe that's Manager Sexton. Have any? Oh, I guess I have to get moved from second first. Sorry. Moved by Councilor Firth. And oops, I'm in the wrong one. What did I do? I think I've lost the one. Personnel report. How the heck did I do that? Oh dear. No. Okay, so this is the wrong one. Okay, so for item, I think we're at 9.4, right? That's where we're at. And the recommendation is that Council receive report AR-26-1109, being a personnel report for the period of January to June 2026 for information purposes. I need a mover and second for that. Councilor Firth. Councilor Morrison. Discussion, Council. Councilor Morrison.
To the chair, to Manager Sexton. I'm just curious how much money we're spending on, and maybe Deputy Clerk as well, how much money we're spending like advertising jobs locally, because I know some of the jobs I know we've filled, I haven't seen it advertised. I've talked to the CEO about it. I haven't seen it. I did poll with other people. We're not seeing them advertised a lot locally. So I'm just curious how much we're doing in advertising locally, like, on Facebook or whatnot, or in Instagram and sponsored ad. I'm just curious how much we spend per job on those things, and are we spending money sponsoring those ads?
Manager Sexton.
Thank you, through the chair. Newspaper ads are minimal. We try to keep to our social media and our websites. We do have a subscription for Indeed, a online resource which I use for headhunting. So that's at about $1,200 per annum. The $1,200 per year for the Indeed subscription.
Councilor Morrison?
So how much should we spending on like I do this myself for this? So I do all job promotions for the agency I work for, and we don't use any Indeed anymore. We start out doing, and we do very well. We had probably dozens of applicants per year, and good applicants, and we keep for a long time. I just like myself going forward, I'd like to see us advertising more locally, because people I talk to aren't seeing it, and they're seeing a job filled and saying I didn't see it, and then I haven't seen those jobs either. So I just like to see us, and I know Councilor Brennan and I had talked about it a year ago. We'd like to see more advertised locally, and maybe some sponsored ads on Facebook and Instagram, because the last time I did one for $100, I got 50,000 views, and 680 people clicked on the job links locally, and we ended up hiring somebody that's going to stay with us for 10 or 20 years. Thank you.
Andrew Sexton?
Thank you, through the chair. When we do have positions that aren't filled after a certain period of time, we do the the job ads through social media, but we do try to keep it to a few $100s just to keep the costs down as much as possible.
I think Councilor McTaggart was next. Answer that question.
Thank you, Your Worship. If there's an appetite from council, like we're hearing it, but we'd like to get that direction. If there's an appetite, because I do agree that there's some return on investment for that, I would direct the administration to increase the Facebook local advertising budget, either for this year, which would be out of budget, but it would be nominal, or at least for the 2027 budget. So then you have a motion on the record to say that we'll line it out, that what we spend on Facebook advertising went up. Because right now we spend X, which is probably a smaller amount, is what I think you're alluding to. So if you'd like for that to be higher, maybe a motion on the record for that, then we'll increase that amount, which therefore will make us spend, and then we'll be able to track, like, okay, we're spending $1,000 on Facebook. How much have you spent this year? This is where our $890 for Facebook advertising. So I would recommend a motion like that, and then it kind of settles it for a while at least, to have that the marching orders to essentially use it more. Thank you.
So Councilor McTaggart, I think you were next, and Councilor Firth.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Through you to our HR manager. I noticed in the 2 quarters that 2 people have retired. Is there any reason that information can't be shared? Because that's something to be celebrated. And council is not made aware of who's retiring. And I think that's a big deal in someone's career. And if I ran into them in the street, or I'm in town hall or wherever, congratulate them and say thanks for a job well done. And just, I think we need to, unless there's a privacy issue, but I would rather thank them and celebrate them.
Andrew Sexton.
Thank you, through the chair. We can absolutely do that. In other organisations, those staff are actually invited to a meeting, and a bit of a congratulations and history of their employment and all that is provided.
Councilor Firth.
Through the chair to administration, before we start chiseling out a motion, can we see in the next budget process, because this isn't just marketing, right, on Facebook, it's retention activities, it's recruitment, there's more subsects, right? So is it one whole report we're looking for, or is it going to be very specific? We want X amount of dollars on Facebook, X amount on Instagram, because I think there's a bunch of activities kind of waving through the calendar year, right? So I'm just kind of asking administration, are we looking for more of a report and then we give an approval on options, or is it just we're looking for one specific number we're looking for?
You want to tackle that? Michael?
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't think we would love to do a report on it. I think the only consistent thing we heard, and I do agree, the Facebook local targeted advertising is what I've heard a few times. That's not a ton of money. If there's a motion, then administration has to answer back why we're not doing it. That's the only one. Now, if you want to report I'd probably wait for maybe the next council to decide that, of like what kind of info they want on all of our approaches for advertising. But this one has been consistent, but I'll leave that to Councillor Morrison, who's brought it up again, right? So I was just trying to solve something that I've picked out that is pretty consistent, that we're hearing maybe you guys want us to do more of. If you want a report, sure, we can bring a report to the next council to show where we're spending all our advertising dollars. That would be the other thing then, maybe, if that's what you're alluding to. Or you do both motions. Thank you.
Councillor Morrison.
Good Chair, thank you. Yeah, I don't want to report. I just want to spend, like, from my experience, we spend $150 on social media, and it does Facebook and Instagram and Messenger all at once. We usually get, 30,000 to 50,000 views, usually 500 to 700 people clicking on the links. So I think, just my experience, I think $150 per job. I'm not sure how many we have, maybe 10 or 6 can let us know, but I don't think it'd be breaking the bank. And I think just the last few jobs we had, I've had like local professionals, like one was an engineer saying, if I had known this job was there, I'd been there, and he's 23 years old, working in an engineering firm, and he would have been here for the rest of his life. He'd been 30 years, and he could have went up the ranks and stuff, and hopefully we get somebody like that in the future as well. But, so just want to know how many jobs, $150 a job by however many jobs we have a year.
Councillor Burnett.
Thank you for the report. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. I really appreciate these types of things. As we did talk about with the CAO, we were feeling a bit left out in terms of some of the things, so I appreciate it. Really happy to see that the summer student roles have been, I guess they're not students, some of them, but some really creative recruitment in that area. So the flowers are planted. Yay. Very happy to see that. Also, those hard to fill positions where you talk about succession planning, leadership development is so important, and I'm really glad you're looking at that. The other thing that you mentioned in your report was that there was some limited housing that resulted in people not taking positions with the organization. So I do recall that Councillor Firth brought forward something in the past around us looking at some sort of housing possibility. So I'm just wondering if that's something that administration has looked into.
CAO Michael.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't recall off the top of my head. Maybe staff, I'll buy a little bit of seconds here so they can remember, but I don't believe we had the direction to continue on looking at bricks and mortar and purchasing. I believed that's not the case, but I don't recall. I don't know if the clerk is able to know that off the top of her head, but yeah, it was more of something not bricks and mortar, and you steered us a different way. If there's appetite, you can do so. I can tell you, administration still strongly supports some type of ownership of a place, at least for short term, to house somebody for 6 months. I think we should spend $300,000-$400,000, own it. It's an asset that you can resell. So at the end of the day, we can even make money while putting people in a place immediately. If there's a new appetite for a specific direction like that, we'd be glad to start working on that. Thank you.
Yeah, just as a follow-up to that, similar to what our physician recruitment committee does, we have locums that come into the community, and as you know, it's hard to find places. So they do kind of contract with local landlords to have a place for these sorts of things. So maybe that's something else. Rather than owning something that may be vacant for long periods of time, we may look at just looking into what's available with local landlords. Thank you.
Councillor Mack.
Thank you. I'm looking at the number of resignations and terminations over both terms. So between the two terms, we've had 3 resignations and 5 terminations. So first I'm wondering, what's our total number of employees? And then what would that percentage of terminations out of that? Like if it's 50 employees and we're terminating 5, in 6 months, that's 10% turnover. So my biggest question is the work environment. Why are we getting rid of them? Why are they leaving? Is there something going on within the town that is causing them to want to leave? And as far as the terminations, are we on the hook for any severances with those? And if so, is that something that can be talked about in open, or is that in the closed meeting?
Go ahead, CO Michaels.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before I perhaps go to our HR manager, we're limited on the extent we can talk about. There are a few different categories when it comes to termination. There's termination of long-standing employees, then there's termination of employees on probation. I'll speak to that one at a high level. We're trying to build a culture here that you hire somebody, they're on probation, and we don't want to settle for a 5 or 6 out of 10, right? There are different reasons, and I'm encouraging our staff that it sucks, you know what I mean, to terminate somebody, but at the end of the day, unless you believe all of our employees in the last 5 years are great, terminations are unfortunately part of it. So, 5 terminations, we have 130, 160 with it's a small percentage. It's something we don't take lightly, but again, there's different categories. We have a closed session component that we'll be able to talk in a little bit more detail, but for the public, that's the culture. We're trying to build a culture, and I want to make clear there's 2 categories. Out of those 5, I can say at a high level, they're not all employees who've been here. Some are on probation, and they're, from absenteeism to, they're not really liking the job. I want us to make tough decisions. So that's a little bit of the context behind some of these terminations. Thank you.
I have to agree. I did notice the number of terminations and resignations over that 6-month term as well. And so I guess my question to Manager Sexton, are these numbers average, or is there high? Are they low? Are they basically what they usually are at this time of year or this cycle?
Thank you, through the chair. I don't believe that these are uncommon. I think they're actually low compared to previous years. And, a big factor of that is the different benefits that we have started offering to our employees. Our retention abilities are so much greater now. I do want to point out with the 7 internal transfers and changes, they have resulted from interim or seasonal staff going to full-time permanent positions, which, giving up their resignations and terminations is at a high percentage.
Any other questions? Well, I think the recommendation was to accept this report as information, and it's been moved by Councillor Firth and seconded by Councillor Morrison. So if there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. And thank you, Manager Sexton, for your report. Okay. See if I got the right numbers here. 10.1 is. Okay, we're on now to Community Services Division reports. And we begin with 10.1, which is the 14-month review report, Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator. The recommendation reads that Council received report AR-26-1128, the 14-month review report for the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator, and that Council consider the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator role in the 2027 operating budget process. And I would move and seconder for that, please. Councillor McTaggart, Councillor Morrison. Discussion, Council. I think Councillor Firth has the first hand up.
Through the chair, I just wanted to thank Manager Miller and staff that's in this position. It's really starting to take shape. And I like some of the additions that we're kind of molding it into with the sponsorship development and the coordinating of volunteers. So this is what I kind of envisioned when this started, and I'm a firm believer in seeing this continue in the budget cycle. Thanks.
Councilor McTaggart.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Mr. Miller. In your report, you say that there's been the creation of a database containing more than 500 coaches, managers, and organizers of sports organizations. How far beyond hockey does that go?
Manager Miller.
Through the chair. It's primarily, I would put it at probably, I would put it at 80 to 85% hockey related contacts at this point. The initial focus of the role has been on hockey, and that's what happened over the winter.
And the balance would be what sports or events?
Just through local contacts, a little bit of contacts when swimming was happening in the facility and the squash tournament as well. And we've also had the role more recently involved in assembling contacts to do with RibFest and markets wares and that sort of thing.
Anybody else first? Councilor Bernetta.
Thank you. Excuse me. Under the tournament development section, you have listed 3 bullets: developing opportunities, continuing to attract teams. And then the 3rd bullet point, you do mention supporting major community events. If these bullets are to be included in any type of job description, I would hope that you wouldn't specify what major community events there are, specifically because we do know there's been some concern expressed around, burger wars not getting recognition for the, anyway, I won't go into it, but just specifying RibFest and the Canadian Bass Championship maybe limits it, and I want to be sure that this individual is open to all major community events. Also, just remembering when we originally approved this position, the position of council was to ask for this report, and the reason we wanted this report was to ensure that it actually did generate some additional revenue for the town, at least break even, so that the person that we're paying to do this is making back the money that is being spent on the position. So based on this report, it looks like the groundwork is done, but it doesn't look like so far it's really generated a lot of additional income. So I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion to add something like, and that the position be reviewed again in 12 months to ensure that it has generated revenue for the town. Just because I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we want this position to at least pay for itself.
So Councilor Burnett is suggesting that the recommendation reads that we receive report AR-261128, the 14-month review report for the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator, and that council consider the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator role in the 2027 operating budget process, and that council review the position after 12 months. Is that what I'm getting at? Sure. Generated revenue. So I think I need to move in second there for that amendment then. Councilor Bernetta. Councilor McTaggart. Okay, before we go to discussion, before we vote, C.L. Michaels.
Thank you, Your Worship. Would Councilor Brunetta be amenable to no later than 12 months? Because of the timing of the current contract in place, and those are the things that we're navigating with the proponents. So if you're okay, not in 12 months, but up to 12 months within, if you're okay with that. Thank you.
Have that, Madam Clerk. Sorry, Councilman Taggart.
Just for clarity, I second the motion, but 12 months from this date? What do you?
Well, I think it would be, it still has to be approved during the 2027 budget process. So if it is approved, then 12 months from the approval.
Okay, just for clarity on that.
I have a couple of questions. The initial one was a partnership with that committee, I believe, and the RFDC in the town. Now, would he share costs for that position and that point? And will it be cost sharing going forward, or would it be on our shoulders going forward?
So that's the part we're navigating right now with proponents, that we have to work with them in order to then see what we're going to fund exactly in 2027. Because the individual's contract ends, I believe, at the end of November. So that's what we're working out, that the future council will see, okay, what kind of financial commitment would you like? And then we could, essentially, it would be a complete then town of Fort Francis employee. You can tweak more. I'm trying to be careful on the timing of this. This right now is just saying, you support the report. We're not committing to anything further, but we have to transition the end of the contract of November 2026 to what the future council is going to want to have long term. That's why I wanted, this is basically, for a lack of a better, this is like a handing over a baton. It's a transition to a permanent with, right now this report is speaking on more of a partnership of the past. I don't know if that really clarifies or muddies the water even more. Thank you.
Well, I'm just curious then, as a follow-up, CEO Michaels, would the cost then be borne fully by the town of the cost of the position? Be fully borne by the town, not split with these other groups?
Your worship, and I'll lean on Manager Miller if he wants to add, anything past November will be completely us, perhaps, but we have no agreement past that.
Yep, I see. Manager Miller, please go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. The MAP committee, through Rainy River Future Development Corporation, has indicated a willingness to work with the town on the future of this role. However, as CAO Michaels has spoken to, we currently have the existing contract in place until the end of November. And then going forward is these are the discussions that we'll be having with the MAP committee going forward over the next few months.
Thank you for that, Manager Miller. And my last question is, I'm just concerned a little bit because we also have, nobody else speak? I saved myself till the end. Do we not also have a sort of events coordinator to do with the Rain Lake Square, I believe, and bookings there? Is there a way to sort of combine these so we're not paying two people to be events coordinators at the same time? I guess that's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's part of what we're working internally to make sure that we maximize the scope of the role that we have in partnership. So hypothetically, let's just, if they're watching the MAC committee, let's say they want to cover 25 or 50%, they're going to want to say. So we have to work carefully. We'll bring the next council options of, well, if they do keep it at 90% hockey, but they're going to pay half, we're going to bring that to you. Maybe they'll pay only a smaller amount. We'll have more discretion on what to do. Those are the things that we're looking at internally, because we do have another position that does some event stuff. And that's what we have to broker once we finalize a permanent position, because it's still a pilot, right? And once a permanent position is done, we have to marry it internally. That is what we're working. And that's why this report is just hey, like, let's just continue until we can broker a contract that works for all parties. And the next council will have to be that stamp of approval to fund it financially. Thank you.
Councilor Taggart.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Mr. Miller. I'm pleased that you've identified that the coordinator will lead initiatives focused on volunteer recruitment and retention and recognition and so on. We heard from the Volunteer Bureau tonight about their volunteer situation, and I hear it from other groups. And I have, in discussions with future development, I thought of the idea of maybe having a volunteer fair where all groups and organizations that are looking for volunteers could go to one place and then advertise for people to come and maybe inquire about volunteer opportunities with each of the groups, and do it at a time when you could entice high school students who have obligations for volunteer hours to be able to attend. So I throw that out as an idea that you may want to consider running through community services. So thank you.
I'm trying to add up, break this out again. So what I'm seeing now is that the recommendation reads that council receive report AR-26-1128, 14-month review report for the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator, and that council consider the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator role in the 2027 operating budget process, and that council receive a report within 12 months regarding revenue generation. The amendment's already been moved and seconded. I don't know if I have that down. Okay. Go ahead, Councilor.
Through the chair, question for Manager Miller. What's one of those in-ice ads cost?
Excuse me. Thank you. Through the chair. The current in-ice ad is around $1,200 per ad. With the new user fee bylaw coming up in the fall, I'm expecting to expand the in-ice ad offering and onboard advertising, and to expand the opportunities and to have different prices depending on where the ads are located on the ice or in the boards, that sort of thing.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a recommendation moved by Councilor Bernetta and seconded by Councilor McTaggart. That council receive report AR-26-1128, the 14-month review report for the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator, and that council consider the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator role in the 2027 operating budget process, and that council receive a report within 12 months regarding revenue generation. Any further discussion? So I'm going to vote on that now. I'll call the question. Or just on amendment. And that council receive a report within 12 months revenue generation. All in favor of the amendment? Carried. Now we go back to the original motion, moved by Councilor McTaggart and seconded by Councilor Morrison. That council receive report AR-26-1128, the 14-month review report for the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator, and that council consider the Tournament and Events Growth Coordinator role in the 2027 operating budget process, and that council receive a report within 12 months revenue generation. All in favor? Team that carried well. You done yet? Okay. Okay, we're moving on to.
You need a drink?
I'm good, thank you. We're at 11 now. Planning and Development Division reports. 11.1, amendment to the letter of understanding between the town of Fort Francis and the Fort Francis Kiwanis Club. The recommendation reads that council receive report AR-26-1122 as information that the Kiwanis Sunny Cove Sale Committee has suspended and agree with the recommendation of the committee to amend the letter of understanding. I need a mover and seconder for that, please. Oh, and Councillor Mackey has declared a conflict on this issue, item. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Morrison. Seconder, Councillor Bernetta. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Brings us to number 12, Operations and Facilities Division reports. 12.1, award of tender 2026-OF-09, Mill Road Overpass Expansion Joint Repair. Recommendation reads that tender 2026-OF-09, work scope option number 2 be awarded to Peer Solutions for a total tender price of $91,000 plus the municipal portion of HST, and that an authorizing bylaw be prepared for the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the corporation. Again, mover and seconder, Councillor McTaggart, Councillor Morrison. Discussion, council? I had one observation. I'm not sure if Andrew Vangel or Superintendent Vangel is with us, but I'm just looking at these prices, and I just can't believe how such a wide range. We have one that's 687,000, one that's 310, and one that's 91,000. It just seems like such a strange spread, and I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to it, but it sort of raised a red flag with me when one is so much lower than the others, and it makes you wonder why, and one is so much higher than the others, it makes me wonder why, but obviously we'll go with the cheapest bid. Oh, sorry, Cody is there. Go ahead, please, Mr. Vangel.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I mean, ultimately, that's part of tendering. We look to get the best price for the service of goods and construction in this case. Without going and asking the question for a total, breakdown of costs, we can only assume. But ultimately, everybody bids for the same contract specifications, and that's the goal, is to replace the expansion joint. One notable thing that I've found upon review is definitely location of these contractors could play a part due to mobilization costs. Some coming from nearby in Manitoba, whereas others coming across province from Southern Ontario. But ultimately, we don't know the real answer. But at the end of the day, we're going to hold them to the contract specifications and get the construction work completed.
Thanks for that, Superintendent Vangel. Any other comments? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Item 12.2, award of tender 2026-OF-11, construction of foundation works and rink slab, McCurvin Rink. Recommendation reads that council approval of report AR-26-1124 will agree with the recommendation of administration to award tender 2026-OF-11 to Platinum Land Management for a total bid price of $448,000 plus applicable taxes, and that the budget overage be funded through the Corporate Projects Reserve Fund, and that a bylaw be prepared to authorize mayor and clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the corporation. Again, a move and seconder for this. For first, Councilor Bernetta. Any discussion, council? Councilor Morrison.
That's the chair. Yeah, just look at the prices. I've been involved in past political thing in Alberta as a councillor, and we built a rink for a quarter. I mean, I realize things have gone up, but wages and materials have not went up 400%. I'm not sure. I think it's maybe the time of the bidding that we're having this because everybody's busy. But I just find it hard to pay 50% more than what was estimated and 400% more than what a rink that we built in like 2002 costs. We estimated at $300,000. I think the lowest bid's like $448,000. To me, it's just too expensive for a rink.
Yeah, again, it's troubling to see that, once again, a project's come in over budget, 148,000 in this case. But I don't know what to do. We've already started work on the roof and all that, so I don't know what to do if we need the foundation. But go ahead, Councillor Morrison.
To the chair, does this include the boards as well?
Manager Rob, can you answer that?
Thank you through the chair. No, this is just the concrete foundations for the roof and the slab for the rink.
Anybody else? Go ahead, man. C.O. Michaels.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just talking to Manager Rob. The sunk cost in this makes it challenging that we've already invested money into this. So to me, I believe it's 148,000 of a shortfall. I mean, we're recommending to obviously do it. We got, I believe, 5 bids in. They're all similar-ish. It's nobody mentioned it. The last one, the last item came in $409,000 below. You know, $409,000 below. Nobody mentioned that one. Not saying that we could do it, but if there was only 1 or 2 bids here, then I think we would retender. Otherwise, this is unfortunate that we're in a position where you've already installed, you know, the shower and now you need a toilet and a sink, and it's a little bit challenging. Obviously, it's the will of council, but the sunk cost, I'll confirm with Manager Rob if he can confirm that if you don't move ahead, what that would look like in the future is, I think, the biggest question to answer if you want to defer this. Thank you.
Councillor Morrison.
Through the chair. I noticed on this on the report here that it says it was only advertised for a short duration tender, and I wonder if you guys can or if Manager Rob can describe what a short duration tender was and why it was only advertised for a short duration tender, and also I'd like to know when it was advertised. Thank you.
Manager Rob.
Thank you through the chair. So our typical tender duration is 4 weeks is what we like to have for a tender. Per the procurement bylaw or procurement policy, there's a minimum amount of 15 days for a tender, and we hit that 15-day threshold. We can go less under extraordinary circumstances with approval through the CAO, but we did hit that minimum 15-day tender. I believe this was out for 16 days. The reason that we had to do the shorter duration was we couldn't finish the foundation design until the roof design was complete, which pushed the design drawings out. And given that we're in summer season and council has a July meeting and an August meeting, if we were to wait until the August meeting to award this, we then wouldn't have had time to do the foundation install prior to the building contractor mobilizing to do the building install.
Councillor Mackey.
Thank you. I guess I'm kind of wondering, what have we done to date And how much have we spent to date, not including this $448,000 tender? And how much more after that concrete slab is put down is there yet to go?
Manager Rob?
Thank you through the chair. So the building was delivered last week. It is on site, complete, ready to go. That has been mostly paid for, other than the costs associated with actually standing the building up. The board package has been ordered and is in production. The design work obviously has been completed. So the only kind of outstanding costs left would be for the lighting install once the roof is up.
Follow up?
So then, once again, how much have we already spent? And how much over and above this 448 is left in dollars and cents?
Manager Rob?
Bear with me just a second. I'll have to look that up.
As I recall, the roof was over budget.
So through the chair, the roof structure was $545,999. The slab design was $10,176. The dasher board package was $107,000. So those costs are all committed at this point.
Michaels?
Thank you, Your Worship. What we're trying to figure out is to get an exact number on what we would lose by retendering this next year, what we keep, and maybe there is value to retender it next year. We lose a year, but I'm trying to calculate, and Manager Rob is, I think, working on this while I'm talking, to see if there's value. If we can save $200,000, we lose a year, and we don't really lose anything from the other pieces we've purchased, that would be ultimately the decision. So we're trying to get an exact number and whatever you quantify 1 year behind. And Manager Rob is just saying it's hard to tell what the bids will be next year. So you're ultimately, doesn't look like we'll lose a ton of money. We'll lose a season. And I think that's the calculated risk that you have tonight. To push it to next year, just do that portion and see what the bids come in. So if it's not palatable for the $148,000 surplus, then please do so. And if not, we'll move forward with it. Thank you.
I'm just worried that next year the cost could be even more. Because it's usually how it works, and there will be delays, cost money. So I'm sort of leaning towards doing it anyway, right, this year. But Councillor McTaggart.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Mr. Rob. What stage are we at in the FedNor application?
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. So the application has been submitted and it's in the review stage. There was a very short window where they were accepting initial applications for what they wanted were shovel-ready projects or projects that were already underway to kick off this new funding program that they have. We fit well into that, and I work closely with our FedNor rep to put an application together that I think is strong. However, it is going to depend on the review. And I don't know how long that's going to take. Like I said, it was a short window to get an initial application in once they launched the program. So I think they are hoping to start announcing projects quickly, but I don't know when we might see an announcement on that.
Just follow up. Do we have a dollar amount that the application was for?
Amanda Rob.
Through the chair, I believe I submitted for 1.25 million.
Thank you.
Councillor Mackey?
Thank you. I guess at this point, we're already spending money and we're kind of committed, and leaving it to next year is just passing the buck to the next council. So I think I'm of the opinion that we need to go ahead with this year and get it done. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Councillor Morrison?
Thank you, through the chair. I'm just wondering, Manager Rob, are we able to say if we just did the foundation this year and then retendered the slab at another point, is that something that we could do? Is it connected with it? Because I know Albertan, we did the slab first, and then years later, 20 years later, they did the roof. So I'm wondering if it's something that we could look at and how much money that might save if we want to retender for the slab down the road.
Manager Rob?
Thank you, through the chair. So the biggest issue that we have with McCurvin Rink is the boards and the condition of the boards. They're in extremely poor condition. Coupled with that, the location of the roof structure, the rink itself is actually going to shift to the west a little bit due to some property constraints that we had to work around. So if we were going to be looking at doing the foundations this year and a slab later, we would have to be utilizing a rink that was just the flooded ground, because we wouldn't be able to retain the boards that are there currently and work to put the rink roof around it.
Is that Councillor Firth? Well, no further discussion. I'll call the question and see what happens, but okay. I'll just read the recommendation again so it's clear what we're voting on. That council approval report AR-26-1124 will agree with the recommendation of administration to award tender 2026-OF-11 to Platinum Land Management for a total bid price of $448,000 plus applicable taxes, and that the budget overage be funded through the Corporate Projects Reserve Fund, and that a bylaw be prepared to authorize mayor and clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the corporation. All in favor? Oh, record vote, sorry. Yep. Madam Clerk, please.
Deputy Mayor Bean.
Yay.
Councillor McTaggart.
Yay.
Councillor Brunetta.
Yay.
Councillor Mackey. Councillor Firth.
Yay.
Councillor Morrison.
Nay.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. Again, good discussion, everyone. Thank you. Moving on to item 12.3. Award of tender 2026-OF-10, installation of sanitary and water main extensions, Shevlin Yard. The recommendation reads that council approval of report AR-26-1123 will agree with the recommendation of administration to award tender 2026-OF-10 to Bay City contractors for a total bid price of, just the one that's actually. That's for 12.3. Says 493,026, but I think it's $557,119.38 plus applicable taxes, and that a bylaw be prepared to authorize mayor and clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the corporation. Again, a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Morrison, Councillor McTaggart. Discussion?
Could you repeat the amount of the
I'm hoping
the dollar amount, please?
I hope I got the right note. So the actual cost is $557,119.38. As opposed to the number they had before. You can ask Manager Rob. Manager Rob, can you explain that?
Yes, through the chair, thanks. The 493,026 plus applicable taxes is correct. The 500,000, sorry, I'm just pulling up the exact number here. The 557,119.38 is for a change in the Schedule A of the bylaw that'll happen later today.
Go ahead, Councilor McTaggart.
Just for clarification, I was reading through the bylaw, and it was an amount that was $605,000. So I asked Manager Rob why the difference, and it was in the bylaw. And if we're signing that bylaw at a different amount, we're off base. So that's the reason I think for some of the change. But I do have another question.
I guess before I go on, for my own clarity then, is the recommendation the wrong number then? What's actually in the recommendation? 493,026 plus applicable taxes, is that number wrong or is that correct?
That number is correct.
That number is correct. So I'm not sure then where the 557,119 goes.
If you look at the document in the bylaw, the tender document in the bylaw, it was listed at 605,000. And this number at 493, it's $112,000 difference. And I was trying to figure out why the difference. So one is with taxes. Well, let Manager Rob explain it, please.
Go ahead, Manager Rob.
Thank you. So the original or the agreement that's included in the bylaw had Bay City's original bid price that included the mathematical error. So the price before you in my report reflects only the town's portion of HST paid, whereas the agreements always include all of the HST paid. So when it comes to the bylaw tonight at the meeting, the Schedule A will have to be amended to reflect the adding error in Bay City's bid price. The total tender price, including the full 13% HST, is $557,119.38.
Okay. Councilor McTaggart.
Yeah. One final question I have for you, Mr. Rob. Were all contractors aware that we're deadly serious of the deadline of October 28th?
Through the chair, yes, they were.
Sorry?
Through the chair, yes, they were.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question and all in favor? I picked the wrong night to come home from camping. Are we here? Okay, where are we? Okay, so just to item 13, which is bylaws. Item 13.1, bylaws be enacted. Bylaw 5323-A, amend the delegation of authority bylaw. Bylaw 47-26, award tender 2026-OF07. Bylaw 4826, award tender 2026-OF09. Bylaw 4926, award tender 2026-OF10. And bylaw 4926, award tender 2026-OF-11. That they'll be introduced, read, and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. Do I have a mover and seconder for that, please?
Just point of order. Do we need to change that one document? that is the tender document for Bay City? Because it states in there the amount of 605,924.
Pull that bylaw. So we'll pull that bylaw. Do you remember which number that was?
Thank you, I do have it here. It was it's bylaw 4926.
4926, there's two 4926. Oh, OF10 or OF11?
Board of Tender, one's the schedule, it's the schedule that's wrong. So.
Okay, we're going to pull that one, and that leaves us four bylaws to vote on. Try read them again. Okay, so I need a mover and seconder that four of the bylaws be passed. Councillor Firth and Councillor Burnett. So it's, which one are we, I'm sorry, which one are we? There's two 4926s. One is OF10, one is OF11. OF10, that's the one we're going to take out? Yes, it is. Okay. So it would be bylaw 5323A, amend the delegation of authority bylaw, bylaw 4726, award tender 2026-OF-07, bylaw 4826, award tender 2026-OF-09, and bylaw 4926, award tender 2026-OF-11. All in favor? Now I got to do another one now that says this one here. Thank you. So I now have another recommendation that the following bylaw be introduced, read, and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. Bylaw 4926, award tender 2026-OF-10. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor McTaggart. Councillor Mackey. Any discussion?
Is that as corrected?
Or as amended?
As amended? Thank you.
So that the following bylaw be introduced, read, and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. Bylaw 49-26, award tender 2026-OF-10 as amended. All in favor? Carried. Oops. Okay. That brings us to notice of motion reconsider item 14.1. Councillor Brunette.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll ask the clerk to verify. She has received a copy of my motion. Just verify whether Councillor Mackey is indeed in conflict on this item.
Through the chair, this motion is in regards to Sunny Cove Camp, which Councillor Mackey has declared a conflict on. So he was correct.
Thank you. So whereas resolution number 1029 originally gave administration direction to proceed with the sale of Sunny Cove Camp, and whereas a subsequent motion to reconsider that motion failed, and whereas Councillor Mackey, who is recorded as being on the prevailing side of the vote, has now confirmed his conflict of interest in this matter, therefore be it resolved that Council agree to suspend the rules of procedure to allow a second reconsideration of resolution number 1029. That's it.
You read this one. She read. So I need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Bernetta. Councillor McTaggart. Discussion. Well, this is the one where we're asking to suspend our rules of procedure to allow a second reconsider of a resolution. I'm always leery about suspending procedural rules, and it has to be like a really, really important reason to do so, because it's not something you should be doing on a regular basis. I will say this, though, that given what's happened with all this, I don't want any shadow of a doubt or any shred of controversy hanging over this decision that we had made. And so in that case, that's why I am personally in favor of suspending procedural or rules of procedure to allow a second reconsideration vote in this term. I will also be in favor of reconsidering the decision because, again, I don't want any cloud of controversy or any hint of wrongdoing or anything that could be possibly attributed to this to be hanging over there. But when push comes to shove, I will stick to my vote about divesting Sunny Cove. Anyway, so anybody else want to comment? So calling the question, all in favor? Carried. So now that we suspended procedure, we now have a oral motion that council reconsider council resolution number 1029 report AR-25-0962 sale of the Kiwanis Sunny Cove camp. I need a mover and seconder for that. Councillor McTaggart. Councillor Morrison. Any discussion, council? All in favor? Which brings us to our original oral motion. I think it was dated July 13th, 2026. That council accept report AR-25-0962 and direct administration to proceed with option, I believe it was option 1. Oh, no, option. We'll have to read it. But option, select from one below. Option 1, rehabilitation and operation of Kiwanis Sunny Cove Camp, and that council direct administration to proceed with procuring a contract for the remediation of Kiwanis Sunny Cove Camp through a request for proposals, and further that administration continue to prepare a report containing long-term viable options for programming at Sunny Cove Camp as per resolution. Or option 2, sale of Kiwanis Sunny Cove Camp, and that council direct administration to work alongside the Fort Francis Kiwanis Club to prepare terms of reference for an ad hoc committee that will be brought back to council at a later date for approval. So I need a mover and a seconder for this. Councillor Bernetta, Councillor Morris.
Could I have a recorded vote, please?
Any discussion? Okay, I think recorded votes have been requested. Now, should we not poll first?
Yeah.
And have the vote on that? Okay. So I'm going to poll council to see which option they prefer between 1 and 2. Councillor Bernetta?
Option 1.
Option 1.
McTaggart?
Option 1.
Councillor Morrison?
1.
Maggie? Conflict. I am in favor of option 2. So we'll vote then on the recommendation that reads that council accept report AR-25-0962 and direct administration to proceed with option 1. And a recorded vote for that. Oh, sorry, Councilor McTaggart.
Is it going to muddy the waters if we have administration have discussions with the Kiwanis Club in terms of the covenants and restrictions that are in place on the on title?
Anyone want to take that one?
Just the background of that, the terms of reference, if I believe said that if we couldn't find a buyer that they may waive the restrictions. Well, if that's the case, then can restrictions be waived for the town so that we can try to live by the requests and desires of the Kiwanis Club, but still do a development of some type in there that will make economic sense so that some of those desires can be fulfilled?
Go ahead, Councilor Burnett.
I think the second part of option one says, administration continue to prepare a report containing long-term viable options for programming. I wonder if that might, we might add just wording such as including examining the restrictive covenant obligations.
Okay, then I'll call the question. I think it's a recorded vote. Ending now. I thought we voted for option one. What was the new line she added? Current. Obligations. Okay, so does this have to be moved and seconded? Okay, we now have an amendment that council accept report AR-25-0962 and direct administration to proceed with option one, including examining the current restrictive covenant obligations. A mover and seconder for that, Councilor Burnetta, Councilor McTaggart. I call that question first. Okay, call that question. All in favor? Opposed? Then just now to do the recorded vote.
Deputy Mayor Bien.
Nay.
Councillor McTaggart.
Yay.
Councillor Brunetta.
Yay.
Councillor Firth.
Yay.
Councillor Morrison.
Yay.
Motion carries.
Okay, that leads us to item 15, which is closed session. Item 15.1, council proceeds in camera at 7:27 p.m. Record reads that council now meet in camera in order to address a matter pertaining to Agency 1 damages. Falls under 239.2E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And 2, quarterly CAO performance monitoring and organizational health update. That falls under 239.2B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Have a mover and seconder for that, please. I saw Councilor Morrison and Councilor Firth. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Mayor, how does ever have this thick of papers? I don't know. I don't know about that. So I gotta go back here now.
changed mine from.
Yeah, right. 7 to 8.
Are we all here? No, John's not here. John? He's here? Okay. Thanks to this, Chelsea, appreciate it. I said somehow item 9.4, I can't, unless I got mixed up somewhere. Okay. Then I started going along. I put the wrong person on the wrong thing here. I can't remember what the item was referred to as, not the MO. I forget now what it was. Anyway. Oh, wait. It was a notepad here, I think it was. 9.4. I'll find out right now. The personnel report. Okay, I think we're back. So I can, report out a closed session and dealing with item 15.2. The recommendation reads that council move forward with option 4 as discussed in closed session. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Mr. Bernetta, Councilor Mackey. All in favor? Oh, and Councilor Morrison had declared a conflict on that. So, carried. And with regard to item 15.3, the recommendation reads that council accept report AR-26-1129 titled Quarterly CAO Performance Monitoring and Organizational Health Update as information. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor McTaggart. Councilor Morrison. All in favor? Carried. And for item 15.4, the recommendation reads that council approve the closed meeting minutes of June 22nd, 2026 as presented. Mover and seconder, Councilor Firth and Bernetta. All in favor? Carried. That brings us to our item 17, our confirmatory bylaw. And the recommendation reads that bylaw 51-26, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Fort Frances, be introduced, read, and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Morrison, Councilor Mackey. All in favor? Carried. And last but not least, item 18, adjournment. The recommendation reads that having reached the hour of 8:35, this meeting of the Council of the Town of Fort Frances be now closed.
Move a second, right over here.
You guys have to be quicker. You have to be quicker on the draw over there. All in favor? Thank you very much, everyone, for